Zimbardo, my hero.
Steve Hassan, my hero.
Oh, you're my favorite. Thanks so much for all your work, all of your incredible contributions, and I guess I just want to invite you at this moment to talk about your Heroic Imagination project and the work that you've been doing since retiring from Stanford Emeritus.
Yeah.
You're traveling around the world.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm officially retired, but not actually retired, because I stopped teaching at Stanford, I guess, about 5 years ago, after 45 years at Stanford, and I taught 10 years at Yale, NYU, and Columbia. And now I teach at Palo Alto University. I teach social psychology for clinical students to keep my hand in the teaching part. But essentially what I do is I go around the world spreading the message of the importance of understanding psychological knowledge and improving the quality of everybody's everyday life. And then about 5 years ago, I made this very dramatic shift, and I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, that for a lot of my academic life, I've been trying to understand how and why good people can be seduced to do bad things, to do evil in the street. And so I did early work on de-individuation, that when you take away somebody's identity by putting them in masks and hoods, costumes in the dark in a group, then those people are ready to do whatever the situation makes evident, likely. And so they can either make love or make war, equally so. I focused on making war rather than making love, which I should have done.
Everyone knows the Zimbardo Prison Study that you are avoiding.
Right, and then so the Zimbardo Prison Study came out of that. So the first study was just on de-individuation, the impact of being anonymous on getting people to do whatever was likely, probable in that situation. And then the prison study was looking at the power of institutions with role-playing, norms, rules, procedures, again, getting good college students, healthy, normal, to play the role of prison and guards, where if they were in the role of guard, and very quickly they became abusive, some cases even sadistic. And in the role of prisoners, many of them had emotional breakdowns, or ultimately they caved in and acted zombie-like. A little bit like people in a cult. So that study, very briefly, was really a follow-up of the Milgram research, because in Milgram's study, it was an authority who would put pressure on individuals to do something harmful, something that went against conscience, namely to give painful, perhaps even lethal electric shocks to another person. And my sense is that happens rarely, that somebody tells you to do a bad thing. Typically you're in a situation, you're in a team, you're in a group, you're in a business, you're part of, the night shift at Abu Ghraib, where suddenly everybody is doing bad things.
But you're an expert witness about Abu Ghraib. You wrote about in the Lucifer Effect.
And so essentially, until recently, I've been focusing on trying to understand the underpinnings of everyday evil. And then in the last chapter of the Lucifer Effect book, what I realized is that in every one of these situations, there's always a small percent of people who resist, who don't go along, who don't comply, who challenge unjust authority. And I thought that's really what I should be trying to understand, is the positive side of human nature, not the negative. Now the problem is evil is fascinating. The devil is more interesting than our, I won't say Jesus, but our religious figures, because the part of us that is always in a sense of being energized and suppressed is the part that gives in to temptation. It's not by accident that the Lord's Prayer says, lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. That piece. Because temptation is all around, always. there's not temptation to do good. There's only temptation to do bad. So the orientation is badness is around, evil is around, and you have to have willpower, you have to have resilience, you have to have conscience to resist it. Well, there's no similar training in religion and family to do the heroic thing, the good thing. and so our definition, my definition of heroism is it's an action taken on behalf of others in need or in defense of a moral cause, moral principle, where you're aware, in which you are aware that there's a potential personal cost, a risk, a liability. And that's what differentiates us from altruism. Altruism is service to others, but there's no cost, there's no risk. And you do it without expecting a tangible reward. And the interesting thing is most people who fit that qualification who've done it are humble and modest. They don't brag. And so for me, the interesting thing about heroes is that they are not egocentric, they are sociocentric. That is, their orientation is always on the other. And essentially what they do is they transform empathy and compassion into action. So compassion, empathy are really the highest private virtues, but heroism is the highest civic virtue. And so I started this organization called the Heroic Imagination Project, or HIP.
And I might say heroicimagination.org.
Okay,
on the web.
Come on our web. We're constantly trying to upgrade it, update it. And the idea is we now know we can teach people, especially young people, youth, skills and strategies, and really it's a mental set, an orientation to become heroic, to think in heroic ways. And what we do is all of our training, and we've done this in middle school, high school, and college, uses basic social psychology. It's organized around the basic themes of bystander intervention, obedience to authority, prejudice and discrimination, stereotyping, mindset, So, and in each of these, our program uses videos to, engage young people. And essentially it's not didactic, we're teaching, we're engaging them to try to, the thing that always makes science, when it's a good science class, is it engages their curiosity, the wonder. Like, I wonder why this is happening. And that's what's exciting about social psychology. It's asking basic questions about human nature, people in the social context. And so now we are just ready. So we piloted our work for the past 3 years in a number of schools. And the most interesting thing is we discover our program works best with inner city schools with minority kids. Because everybody's been telling them they're nothing. We say, no, you have an inner hero that's been suppressed.
An inner hero.
You have an inner hero that's been suppressed. And if you want, we can help you learn how to express it. But what it means is you have to stop thinking about yourself, being egocentric. So it's a paradox. Because heroes are people who have to notice somebody's in need before they can help them. So in every situation you go in, typically what we're saying is, I hope people will like me, I hope I'll make a friend, I hope they'll think I'm smart, I hope they'll think I'm upset. No, you go into every situation and say, I wonder how I can make somebody feel special. I wonder what I could do who can I give a compliment to today? So by focusing on the other, you're going to be the one who notices there's somebody sitting in the corner that nobody's talking to, maybe a shy kid, maybe some kid has been bullied. Or you're going to notice somebody has a tear in their eye, and you're going to be the one who feels comfortable going over and say, are you okay? And do you need any help? And then you're going to be the one who gets the help or calls 911.
And they're going to feel good because you were caring about someone else and notice you have impact by helping them. You matter.
Yeah. So essentially what I'm saying also is that to be a big hero, you need big opportunity. That is, you need disaster and emergency, somebody's life is at stake, drowning or something, or war, etc. And so for most of us, we're never going to have the big opportunity, but there are small opportunities every day in your family, in your school, in your neighborhood. And so the idea is to think of yourself as a hero in training. What can I do each day which is on the path. So if and when that opportunity comes, you're going to be ready.
So you're training
Yeah.
awareness and consciousness, really, how to be a good citizen, how
Yeah,
to
and
be
it's,
a mensch.
well, I can say it's building moral muscle or moral courage,
Mhm.
which is, again, a key to this. You have to be compassionate, meaning you have to focus on how can I help others in need.
Mhm.
But you see, the Dalai Lama believes that if everybody in the world was compassionate, evil will cease to exist. I think that's never going to happen because they're agents of negative influence.
Right.
There are cult leaders, as you know all too well. There are people who make their job selling people cigarettes or, doing scams of all kind.
People bullying others.
Bullies. Now, and so while we're waiting for those bad people to change to be good, I'm saying compassion has to be socially engaged, meaning it has to be transformed into heroic action. I really don't care if you tell me you can feel my suffering. I want you to help me stop my suffering. I want you to pick me up out of the gutter and
Right.
carry me out of this bad situation.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to do with the Heroic Imagination Project.
And what you're doing is really beyond nationalism, because you're
Oh, yeah.
teaching this all over the world, and you're trying to create an awareness that we're all humans, and
Oh.
therefore we need to be concerned about what's happening in your country.
Yeah, see, you just said, so that's the key, is how do you get man, and woman to realize the key is being human? So what is that underlying humanity that we all have? That it looks different if you're different skin color, different way you dress. And in some cultures, it's going to be harder. So, for example, in Asian cultures where they prize modesty, reserve, shyness, where there's pressure not to stand out from the group, not to take different. Well, heroes always stand out. I mean, heroes are always deviants because most people do nothing. The norm is always do nothing. Because why? Every mother in the universe says, don't get involved, mind your own business, because they don't want their kid to do something that's going to get hurt. And so what I say, you got to tell your mama, humanity is my business. If I don't help them, who's going to be around to help me when I'm lying down or when I've been beaten up or when I'm hurt?
Exactly, and if there's a government or a cult that is telling you if you speak out against what we're doing or that we're doing is unjust, we're going to punish you or we're going to put you in jail or whatever, it's sending a message of fear
Right.
in order to give over your personal power to the institution. What you're saying is there's something bigger.
Right.
And if you connect to your inner hero,
Right.
you can actually wind up helping a lot of other people who are suffering, who've been silenced.
Exactly. Yeah, see again, so the notion we have is that I organize around these. So we want to democratize the notion of heroes. So heroes are ordinary people. You don't have to have any special inequality. You don't have to be more compassionate or more smart. And we want to diffuse away from the notion of the solitary hero toward the notion of heroes are most effective in an ensemble, in a group, in a hero squad. So that
Hero squad.
See, once you get 2 or 3 people to agree with you, it's a point of view. See, if you're a solitary hero, they dismiss you. You're a fanatic. You're a troublemaker. So my job is, and we have to teach you, using Cialdini's principle of social influence, how to convince several other people to share your point of view about bullying, about racism, etc. And then together as a hero squad, you present this common voice that we think this is wrong, we think this should be changed. And then you get a hearing. The reason why individual whistleblowers usually get dismissed is that they can make a negative dispositional attribution. He's in it for the money, he just wants to get attention, he's got some axe to grind. But no, now it's a point of view. And so that is, again, a subtle key of the stuff we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. So wouldn't it be something, I'm just waxing now, it's January of 2013 and tomorrow is the inauguration, re-inauguration of President Obama, who I understand is organizing an action committee group to try to get citizens working together for the common good.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I'm wondering if there's a way to bring Republicans, Democrats, Independents to a higher level, if you will, beyond political agendas.
Yeah,
to be human, to
right.
really genuinely care about other people.
Yeah, see, that's critical. I mean, again, in the last few years, as everybody knows, our political parties have become really adversaries. I mean, and they're not, they're not working collectively for what is best for America, what is best for a nation, what is best for the world. It's really too much self-interest. And again, what it means to be a hero is to rise above self-interest, to say, what is it that is needed in my family, in my school, in my neighborhood, and how can I, working together with others, realize that? And it's really everyday people. See, the old notion of hero was really male warriors.
Mm.
I mean, that it was Agamemnon, Achilles, and so it eliminated women. And what we now know from lots of research is that women are at least as likely, or more so, where a network is involved.
Mm-hmm.
So Christians who helped Jews during the Holocaust could only do it by forming a network, because they had to move the kids from place to place. And one of the best examples in Poland, in Warsaw, was a woman named Irina Sendlerova. She's the English is Sendler. And so she arranged with 19 other people, all Catholics, 18 women and one guy, to smuggle these kids out of the Warsaw Ghetto, getting permission from their parents to smuggle them out in various ways, and then hide them, and ideally to reunite them with their parents after the war, wherever that was possible. Well, those kids have had kids and kids, so now there's more than 10,000 people who owe their life to this woman, who organized 18 other women to form this heroic network. And so that, and she's just been, I think 2 years ago, recognized by Israel as one of the righteous among the Gentiles. But, so just in that one example is that her heroism, because again, if you're caught, you get tortured and killed. Her heroism was reflected in, I guess there are at least 2,200 cases of Gentiles documented who helped Jews. But there are 22 million where they didn't.
Right.
So again, that's the whole question. Why is it some people do it, some people... And again, I don't think it's something special about the person. I think when you engage in heroic action, you become special. And so it's the ordinariness of heroism which is interesting.
Yeah, and in the Heroic Imagination Project, you are collecting stories, are you not, of heroes around the world. The one that sticks in my mind, maybe one of the first when you started the project, was the man who was standing at a subway platform with his two little girls, and the man had a seizure, fell on the tracks, and he said, "Watch my girls," and jumped on the track and saved the man's life. Yeah,
so this was an African-American guy, 50 years old, Wesley Autry. I guess he was a construction worker, and he's standing on a platform actually at City College in New York, 137th Street. And there's 75...
Isn't that where you went?
No, I went to Brooklyn College,
sorry.
But City College is there. I had to pass it going from the Bronx to Brooklyn College on the subway.
Okay.
And there's 75 people on the platform, and a guy stumbles and falls across the tracks, and subways come in every 3 minutes. And he's across the tracks, it's going to cut him in half. And everybody sees this, and everybody panics and does nothing. He has a reason not to get involved. He's got 2 little daughters. He turns to a stranger, says, "Take care of my kids," jumps on the tracks, moves the guy from across the tracks to between the tracks, and presses him down as the train goes over his head.
And it was like an inch.
Half an inch.
Half an inch.
Half an inch between the top of Wesley Autry's head and the bottom of the train.
There's no way he could have known that.
No.
If he would have survived.
No, but in fact, all that had to happen is this guy moves this much and would have taken his skull off. Well, then the whole question is, would he have been seen as foolish rather than heroic? But and what he said is really critical. He said, "I did what anyone could do." But that's not true. You have to have some strength and agility and so forth to jump in. But then the moral thing is, he said, "And I did what everyone ought to do." So that's the real heroic statement, that in that situation. Now, the interesting thing for me is 2 weeks later, the same exact thing happened on a subway in New York A guy tripped or fell on the track. A guy jumped on the tracks and remembered the story of Wesley Autry and how
That was a contagion effect.
but what he did then is he picked up the guy and he moved him next to the platform and called out, "Help!" Two guys came, they lifted the guy out, and he got up and he got on the train and went to work. You know, and then he was interviewed by Rachel Maddow, and he said, "Hey, I remember the story of that guy who almost died doing it, and I didn't want to die."
Right.
But so that's
a better strategy.
But that's the wise and effective hero.
Right.
That is, you achieve the goal of saving somebody's life, and how did you do it? You call for help.
Right.
See, that's the other thing is that what's curious in most of these situations, people don't communicate. You know, in emergency situation, fire situation, in all the demonstrations that we've organized, people don't say, "Hey, what's going on here?" You look at each other, everybody nods, and everybody says, "Well, maybe nobody's doing anything, so I won't do anything." Rather than say, "What do you think that smoke is? You know, think it could be dangerous.
Right.
Why doesn't somebody go check it out? Why don't you go call the person?" And what's amazing is that even in a country like America, which compared to other countries, they see us as really outgoing and extroverted and loquacious. In too many situations, we don't communicate. So that's what we're trying to teach in the Heroic Imagination Project, is that first you pause. See, the problem is you have these automatic reactions built in.
Scripts.
We do this, so pause, remember, wait, press the pause button, look at what's happening in this situation. So you're doing a situational analysis, which we don't do often enough, and then think about what's the best action to take, then act, you know, and after you act, reflect on what you did right, what could you do better, and the last thing is feel the self-respect that you did the right thing. So it's really that simple set of principles that we're trying to promote.
Beautiful. I wish it was mandatory in every school
Well,
around the world.
maybe it will be, hopefully.
I know you have to prepare for
I
an
gotta
expert
prepare.
witness for Abu Ghraib victims.
And I'm also going to Hong Kong soon to present these ideas to Asian youth.
So thank you. Stay healthy. Write your memoirs, please. Keep up the great
Keep
work.
living.
Keep thriving. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.